So have you heard of the microphone manufacturer JTS before? Odds are you probably haven't, and that's why I'm here to show you JTS, and specifically today, the RU series dual handheld system. We're going to dive deep. We're going to talk about the brand. We're then going to talk about the system. We're going to do a distance check and find out how good this thing really is. So are you ready? Because we're going to do it right now. What's going on, everybody? Justin Schwartz here, founder of the DJs Guru, coming at you as always from the DJs Guru studio. And today we're talking about the JTS RU850LTH dual wireless handheld microphone system. Really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? So who is JTS? Have you heard of them? Probably not. Whether you've heard of them or not, odds are you've used a product made by them and you probably didn't even realize it. So we'll talk more about that, but first, before we do that, make sure you're checking us out at the DJsGuru.com. If you have any questions, please drop them down below, whether they be on JTS or anything in the event DJ gear industry. I'm here to help. We're here to help as a company. And also consider subscribing, ring that bell to get notifications. We are going to be coming out with more and more content as the days and weeks go on. So we do appreciate that. Now, back to JTS. So who exactly is JTS? Very simply, JTS is now a brand name that a very big factory has created to sell mics for themselves. But before that, and this is only in the less than a decade, right, has JTS been around, and that, again, why you probably haven't heard of them. The company and the factory that makes JTS is the company. And what they have done for 90% of their history is that they have just built wireless and microphone systems for other brands. Famous brands here in the US, famous models for 50 years and more have made some of the most influential products made by other brands in the country. So they just basically were doing it and then putting other brands' names on it because those brands were basically going to them to say, hey, build our microphone for us. And again, maybe less than a decade ago, they decided to say, hey, let's just create JTS and let's sell some microphones under our own brand name. We know how to do it. We've got everything here. Let's just kind of cut the middleman out, so to speak, which is also kind of a cool thing about JTS. As a dealer, we're buying directly from the factory. We've kind of cut out a middleman, so you're able to get really good quality stuff for significantly less than you would from another brand that's out there. So in a nutshell, that's basically who JTS is. I have names that I could drop for you and model numbers that would probably blow your mind that JTS has manufactured, but privately we could kind of tell you who that is. You'd be very impressed if you heard some of the brands, some of the names of products that they've actually manufactured before. Now, today we're talking about the dual handheld system, the RU85012DB, right? And what is it? Real simple, we'll go through the features and specs, but when it comes to a wireless microphone, there's really not all that much to talk about, especially with this particular brand, because they kind of created their own handheld head here, which I used it earlier and I've used it in a few gigs. It picks up the pattern and my voice very well, but it is a true diversity UHF wireless system. Feels solid. It is made with mostly plastic, which is probably the only negative thing that I would say about it. But if you're going to buy something that's less expensive because it's plastic, the wireless microphone seems to be the thing that I would say is one of the things that you can get away with that with. Because if you're going to keep it in a case and protect it anyway, that metal durability doesn't really do very much for you as it's just sitting there, right? That is part of how this system is able to keep the price down. But inside this box, you have half-wave antennas with BNC connections, which means that you can extend those. So anyone that has those special DJ booths that needs to snake out their BNC to their antennas, you can certainly do that. You have a bunch of different features built in to the system. So you have several different group and channel settings that you can scan through. It has an auto scan feature, so it's going to constantly be searching for the best signal in the room for you. Again, true diversity system, which means again you have two antennas pulling from the left and the right, always searching for the best signal. Squelch control and something called Remo set, which is kind of cool because when you're at an event, you always want to be scanning and making sure you're finding the best channel. I actually have used it in a situation before where it didn't sound good and I went and I put a different channel, different group, sounded much better. So you're constantly doing that, right? You go to the receiver, you dial it in. Now you got to match it up manually here, which you can do. But Remo set is kind of a cool little wireless near field system that actually then, once you push this button, takes the settings and then automatically pushes them right to the handheld. So you don't have to do anything. This is kind of, I don't want to say annoying, but you got to unscrew it. So yeah, I mean, hey, anytime that we can save as any type of DJ or event professional really is always a good thing, right? All right, so let's zoom in here real quick and show you the actual receiver and the handheld mechanism so you can kind of see them a little bit closer up. Real quick, nice LCD orange, very similar to some other ones that we have. Very nice looking. The casing again is plastic, but it's made well and does what it needs to do. You have your settings right here for each channel that's coming out of here, and you just basically hold it down. And now you have options to change your receiver, your transmitter, and then you go down to group, change your group. You want to change your channel, and that's basically it. Now, you're going to go over here, you're going to hold this down, you're going to get into setup, and it's going to basically allow you to thumb through the same exact situation here, 2 and 7. It's going to show you the different megahertz settings within the frequency range. You can then change your decibel levels as well as your RFP, which is going to basically give you a little bit of an increase. It'll kill your battery a little bit faster from what I was told, but it will make you sound better. And then that's basically it within the handheld. Really the basic settings that you need to make sure that you sound good. And then one thing that I did like about here, again, when you go and you set it into the right channel, it's actually syncing it up while it does it. So that was very cool. I thought that was a nice thing I haven't seen before. So that's what it looks like in close, and I just wanted to show you guys that. I think those are the major features and specs. These are well under 600 megahertz. No problem with these down the road having any issues as far as the frequency range. Really the thing for me is, what is the distance? Because I did have an opportunity to use this at a couple of events. Sounds really good. So I was impressed with the sound, but I didn't really get an opportunity to go too far in my, short distance application. It worked great, but I want to do a test and see kind of how far we can get with this. Most wireless systems in this price range are going to be between 200 and 300 feet. So I'm looking to get at least 300 feet. Let's see what we can do, okay? You ready? Let's go. All right, everybody, we're outside. We're gonna do a distance check. The neighbors are already pissed off at me, but what are you gonna do? This is what I do for you guys and girls out there. So I flipped the speaker around and hopefully the neighbors over here don't come back out. Anyway, we're gonna do a distance check. I've got my 2 JTS RU series handhelds right here. We're gonna go that way and we're gonna see how far these things go and how they sound while we do it, okay? So are you ready? Here we go. What a beautiful day we've got here. We're gonna do our distance check. I got some road behind me here. We're gonna see how far we can go, and gonna start right now.
Test, test.
We're working. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to tell you a quick story with the real big #1 tip when buying a wireless microphone. Don't go too cheap. So I myself am a DJ, been doing this since I'm 15 years old, and I was not always selling gear and had to buy a wireless mic when I was much younger. Did what I thought was a very important party at the time. 72 feet, 72, we're working, and got everything set up, and the last thing I had to buy was a wireless mic. At that point, I only was using a wired mic. Went out and bought an inexpensive wireless mic because I didn't know the difference. I didn't understand, and the specs, everything looked good, right? Looked good on paper, as they say. We're at 125 feet, test. 125 feet, we're still working. So long story short, bought it under $100, plugged it in when I got to the gig, test, worked fine, right? Had to do a speech. The whole reason why I bought it. Person goes to do the speech, nothing. Then, when I finally got it to work, nothing but static. One of the most embarrassing things I've ever had happen to me while I was a DJ working at a private event. And I'll tell you, if you ever had that happen to you, I'm gonna stop here, 174, test. You don't ever want it to happen. So you can't skimp on the wireless mic because it's part of your brand, it's part of your service. And if you have feedback, if you have a mic go out or not work at all, everybody immediately looks at the DJ, always, every time. So big tip is don't go too cheap on your wireless system. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, of course. So we're at 190 feet, test. And I'm actually getting into a situation here now. We're outside, not a ton of interference, not a lot of people, obviously, so it's not an ideal situation. But right now, I don't have line of sight at all. I have trees behind me, so it's a pretty good check as far as the usage of this, and it's still working, and how it functions, because this is not an ideal situation by any means. We're at 255 feet, and I really want to make sure this thing gets past what it says and see if I can get at least 300. That seems to be what your Shores, your Sennheisers, microphones like that, the EVs, that's what they're generally gonna state. So you wanna get at least that, right? Test. One of them's out. I don't know exactly why. I'm at 307 feet. One of them's still working. So the system definitely can. I probably have to change the channel on this one. It sounded a little weird to me as I was doing my initial testing. This was really just more for distance, but we can go in there, as I showed you earlier, and change that up, and that's not a problem. And you always do want to make sure you find the right channel before every gig. And we're at 307 feet. We'll see if we can go about 350 with the one that is working. If we can get that with everything that I have going on here in this situation, I think I'd be pretty impressed. So anyway, back to my tip. That is my tip. Don't go too cheap on your mic. The goal is to have these things for a while, to not have to replace them, to be able to count on them. And the reliability is really the #1 thing, because no matter how good it sounds, it doesn't work, doesn't matter, right? So reliability, then sound, obviously, are going to be, to me, two most important things. And 362 feet, test. 362 feet, we did it. Let's go back to the studio. All right, everybody, so what'd you think? We got 367 feet, pretty impressive. You know, again, I was looking to get 300 or more, and I did that. We saw the situation I was in. It was not anywhere near a perfect situation. Of course, I didn't have 300 people around me, but not exactly easy to get a video done in that situation. So actually, during this process, I had the neighbors yelling at me. My job doing videos is to piss off as many neighbors as I can, I have to tell you. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. I was impressed with the microphone. We got great distance out of it. The main thing for me is this is value. This is a value product. So for the cost of some single channel and single handheld microphone, you can get a dual now that's going to work just as well and now give you the ability to have two handhelds whenever you need them. So do you always need two handhelds? No, but hey, you get this at such a great price. It's like, why not, right? I can tell you that I have seen dual systems that work just like this that are significantly more expensive. So this is really a great value. And the main thing for me was I needed to kind of get out and really do what I did. Use it a few times, feel comfortable with it. And I have to tell you, after also speaking with JTS and having good conversation with them, I feel really confident in the brand. And at the end of the day, this comes from the factory that is the largest manufacturer in the world. And that's a true statement. And that's really it. They just have never made items under their own brand name before. And that's now what JTS is. So what'd you think, everybody? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, as always, make sure you drop them down below. If you want to make a purchase, of course, you can click the link in the description right down there. Make a purchase. And as always, check us out at thedjsguru.com, and if you consider subscribing to our page here on YouTube, we always appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. The JTS RU series dual handheld, very impressive. Not a lot of negative things to say about it. Mostly positive here, so we definitely give it the stamp of approval. And thank you so much. Have a great day. And as I always like to say, we'll see you on the flip side. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.